Let's talk about drawing realistically with colour pencils. More specifically today, I want to cover 5 ways that you can very quickly improve your colour pencil drawings. So let's just dive straight in, and my first tip is something you want to think about before your pencil gets anywhere near the paper. Let's talk about reference photos. So everything I draw is from a reference photo. I want it to look as realistic as possible, and this is the easiest and best, in my experience, way to do this. But you can't just pick any old photo. And the main thing that I see people doing wrong is not picking the right photos. So first up, if you're taking your own reference photo, using natural light where possible is going to make a better photo. You could take the photo outside, or generally speaking, I quite like to take a photo next to a window. Being side on to a window creates really good contrast. Also, if you're taking a photo of a pet or a person, you want to take the photo at their eye level. It's never going to look as good if you're looking down on them. Now, I don't actually very often take my own photos. Generally speaking, I use other people's photos. And I usually use photos from either the website Pixabay or Pexels. There's a great range of photos on here, and they're all royalty free. The most important thing to remember about the reference photo, whether you're using your own or you're using someone else's photo, is that it has really good contrast. A photo like this is going to create a lot better drawing than a photo like this. So step 2, something that time and time again I think people can improve, it's creating an accurate sketch. Because this isn't a part of the drawing where you're actually using the colour pencils, it's kind of the prep, I think it frequently gets glossed over. But I cannot stress how important it is. You want to really take your time to get everything mapped out in the right place. It is the difference between a good drawing and a not as good drawing. Now, generally speaking, I like to use the grid method. This is where I have a grid on my reference photo and I draw a grid on my drawing paper. And then I only need to draw what's in each individual square. I work through these squares one at a time, thinking about the shapes rather than thinking about what I need to draw. So I don't think about drawing an apple, for example. I'm just looking at the shapes in each square. Once I've drawn everything out in each square, I can then erase the grid lines. And the other key you want to do with the sketch is make sure that the pencil is really light. You want it so light that you can barely see it. Now, tip number 3 requires a little bit of patience. Now, the colour from colour pencils is built up through layering, gradually building up the colour bit by bit. Colour pencils, generally speaking, are a reasonably slow medium, but I think sometimes people get a little bit impatient with it. The temptation is to start pressing harder and kind of rush through it, and that is not what you want to do. You want to work really nice and lightly, gradually building up the colours, and resist that temptation to press harder. And if you focus on making the layers smooth and light, you'll find that you end up with a much softer texture. It's a lot less scratchy. Now, the key to creating these light layers is firstly having a really nice sharp pencil. You're going to find it a lot easier to get the colour down and to just generally control where it's going. I also find holding the pencil further back helps rather than really close to the tip. It literally stops you from being able to press too hard. Now, after building up a few light layers of the colour, this is where I find the next tip needs to kick in. You need to keep going. I frequently find that people stop their drawing at about this point. So they're working from a really good reference photo. They've spent the time to get the sketch correct, and they've been working on building up all of these light layers, and then they've just decided that it's finished. You need to keep going, keep building up that color, and you can see what a huge difference it makes. Going maybe a little bit further than you're used to. You want to get to the point where you can't see any of the white spots of paper anymore. It should be looking nice and smooth and vibrant. Now, my final tip is something that I think a lot of people worry about. Everyone always focuses on picking the right colors when drawing with color pencils. And I say it a lot, the colour doesn't really matter. Not a huge amount. What matters more than anything is the contrast. A drawing with great contrast but slightly off colours is going to look a lot better than a drawing with perfectly matched colours but no contrast. And actually, if you've picked a really good reference photo, then you're already off to a great start. You should have some really good dark values, some really nice bright light values, and a good array of the middle ground. So if you focus on these 5 tips, you should be able to create a really good realistic drawing. Now, as a little bonus tip, I want you to remember that everyone's art journey is different. You don't want to compare your drawings to someone else's. As long as you feel like you're, generally speaking, improving as time goes on, that's what's most important. All right, I hope you found this video helpful. If you'd like to learn a bit more about layering, check out this video here. All right, happy drawing, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.